I'm David Chavez, and I will be talking to you about my project that I did. I did my project over media's misconception of women's desire for sex. As you know, sex is a controversial topic. Many people don't like to talk about it, but they will listen. People learn about sex from their peers, at least the majority of people learn sex from their peers. People turn to the media to learn about sex also. Unfortunately, not everybody is able to attend, a lecture or a class setting to learn about sex. So people, they listen to their friends, they listen to what's on the news, what's on the radio, what's in the movies. But what does the media teach people about sex? Is this really true, and is this really how sex is understood as a whole? Media's perception of sex. Media outlets everywhere lead people to believe that men are always thinking about sex. Cosmo, which is short for Cosmopolitan, is a women's magazine which talks about sex and just about every issue that they publish. Is the media right or are they wrong? What about the women? Do they desire sex? Media says no, but is this really true? Media outlets. Sex is everywhere in the media. Movies, TV, and magazines all have sex in it. Women and men read and see sex in just about every media outlet possible. Cosmo tends to lead the way in how people learn and read about sex. According to the New York Times, there are 64 editions of the magazine across 100 countries. The Cosmo magazine comes in 35 languages. The New York Times also goes on to state that about 100 million teens and young ladies would read the magazines. Cosmo always tends to have the word sex somewhere on the cover, and many people feel that this is why the magazine is so popular. But is the info that the Cosmo puts in these magazines really true? And does the info in these magazines lead you to believe this is how sex is really happening? People's misconception. Cosmo's website makes people believe that sex is what all men want and need. I looked through the Cosmo website, and in just about 10 minutes I stumbled across different articles that stated that men crave this and men crave that. Some article titles just make you feel that sex is just what guys want. Article titles such as 3 kinds of sex all men crave, the sex all men crave with you, and men want virgins and whores can easily lead people to believe that men just simply crave and need sex. This article, or this cover that I found right here, it says it right there in the title. It says his number one sex fantasy, which leads people to believe that this is what a guy wants and this is what a guy needs. Movies. Many people see movies, television, and magazines like Cosmo and believe that sex in these outlets is normal. When you look at different movies, commercials, or magazines, you can see that sex in the media is very stereotypical. Often you see the guy in the movie try hard to seduce the girl they are trying to sleep with. Although the males are usually very masculine and attracted to the females, the girls are portrayed as not wanting to engage in sex. This leads people to believe that it's always the guy who wants the sex. People see these movies and assume that all guys are just like what they see in the movies. Little things in these movies make people think that all guys think about is only sex. These movies make people also believe that guys will do whatever it takes to get the sex, but this is actually just myth. This is not really true. Not all guys want and need sex. Guys are not all just sex animals that media leads people to believe. Men are not just the ones who want sex. Females also crave sex just as much. Men'sHealth.com did a survey of about 6,000 people, and the women in the surveys revealed that they wanted sex just as much as their counterparts. Men's Health also did another study and discovered that women want to experiment and are just waiting for the guys to ask. The misconception of women. It's a misconception that women don't crave sex. Women, just like their male counterparts, also go through their phase of when they crave sex more than men. Every month, when a girl is ovulating, she usually wants to have sex because it's her natural time to conceive a child. Her hormones in her body make her feel like wanting to have sex at that moment. The Atlantic.com states that women want sex far more than we've been allowed to believe. This is all because of media's misconception. Again, this from the outside looking in, you think it's only the males who want sex, but in reality it's both sexes. The same Atlantic.com article goes on to state that women want sex just as much as men do, and the drive is not, for the most part, sparked or sustained by emotional intimacy and safety. The article was pretty much trying to say that women may want to have sex, but they are using it for, other benefits as well. Now, you may wonder why women craving sex is not out in the public eye as much as it is for men. Women craving sex is simply just looked down upon. Women who crave and want sex are seen differently because of the double standard society has set. Many people believe that the double standard exists between men and women because it's simply easier for women to seduce a man than it is for a man to seduce a woman. An article at AskMen.com goes as far as saying that no single man would turn down a free ticket to Pound Town if the circumstances were right. Also, a man who could sleep around and or date around with a lot of women is looked at differently because the men see him as a person who has figured out how to overcome the obstacle that most men have not. One person in the study of women want sex as much as men do stated that men experience a lot of pressure in our society to have sex with numbers of different partners. This goes back to our double standard that society has put on everyone. That same article goes on to state that opposite of what women experience is kind of the gatekeepers of sexuality. This is also part of the double standards. A lot of people see women as the ones that control if a man does have sex with them. They are simply the gatekeeper. Along with that, women fear other women. Women fear that they may be slut-shamed. Slut-shaming, according to Wikipedia, is a feminist term for social control of sexuality by exposing women to shame for engaging in unlawful, abnormal, or unethical sexual behavior. Sexual desire. I have read many articles that state the same thing, and that is that women want sex just as much as men do. Sexual desires simply depend on the individual. Every human has a different sexual appetite. They also have different sexual desires as well. There are some men and women who just need more sex than others. One study, if women want sex as much as men do, shows that once a girl found a guy they really liked, women ditched the society imposed gender roles and warmed up to sexual pleasures. The Huffington Post posted an article about 5 myths about women's sexual desires. Some of the myths that were stated in that article were that women have lower sexual desires and that women vastly differentiate from men when it comes to sexual desire. Both of these myths were proven to be false. Women are not that much different than men when it comes down to sexual desires. The only thing that was stated in the Huffington Post article was that the variations in sexual desires are much more of a relationship issue than a gender issue. So, women do crave sex just as much as men, but it's just a misconception that we have that the media has put on us to make us believe that they don't crave sex at all. Married couples. It was very unique. Whenever I was doing my research for this project, I stumbled across a lot of different articles that were actually eye-opening. This was one of the last things that I talked about in my paper. The articles that I looked over showed that even women who were married have figured out that sex isn't guaranteed in their relationship. This is actually more common than what people think. I found an article in the Huffington Post that talked about women who wanted sex more than their partners. It stated that one husband bought their wife a vibrator so the wife would stop bothering him. Another woman posted saying that she began to think that she would never find somebody whose sex drive is the same as hers. This was coming from a woman who was 65 when she posted that comment. Later on, another lady says she feels abnormal for wanting more sex than her husband. That comes back to the whole society thing. Society had made us believe that girls and women that crave more sex than men is just abnormal, but in fact, this girl is normal. Valerie Bryant of the Good Morning Women Project stated that media and Cosmo magazines has taught her to believe that men are just horny beasts who cannot be tamed. And so, when she got married, she assumed her new husband would want sex every day, daily. Valerie soon found out that her husband wasn't that stereotype that media makes all men to be. She found out that sometimes it was her who was wanting and needed the sex. A girl named Caroline, also from the Good Women Project, stated that she thought all men wanted sex all day, every day, but realized sometimes she wanted it when he didn't, technically initiate it. Caroline went on to mention that it takes time to find things that will make either person happy. In closing, with media's misconception, just because you see something in the media doesn't mean it's necessarily true. Sex is something that both genders crave equally, and it's okay if you're a woman who craves sex more than your significant other. You're perfectly normal, although the media makes it seem like women don't crave sex at all. The media also has led us to believe that men are sex-craved animals, but this isn't true. Although it's common that men are always thinking about sex and men want to have sex. Women are thinking about it just as much. Men are humans and they don't always think about sex nor need it all the time like the media wants us to believe. And while there is a misconception about women, they are a lot like men. Which in fact they might sometimes need sex more than men. I mean that is perfectly normal. Like I said, it is normal if either gender craves more than the other. In the end, it's not just the men who crave or need sex, but both genders equally desire it as well. So go out, have sex, and have fun. Be safe.